Good afternoon, RH simulation members. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to this new video. Today's video is for every single person who is tired of searching how to become a pilot. Maybe you have watched thousands of videos, maybe you have read hundreds of posts, and every time you end up more confused, more stressed, and sometimes even less motivated. Maybe you think becoming pilot is impossible, maybe your family says it's too expensive, or people around you say it's too difficult. Maybe you don't know where to start, which school to choose, or even what ATPL really means. So if you are lost, you are tired, you feel like you will never reach the cockpit, this video is for you. I have been exactly where you are. I was confused, I was overwhelmed, and I had no clear information. But step by step, I learned how the process works. I discovered the reality behind pilot training, and I chose the modular pathway, the same path that many pilots use worldwide to reach their dream without paying 100,000 euros. So this video, I'm going to give you the full explanation you will never find on internet, and also the reality behind the pilot training or the pilot's work. I will explain the modular route, the theoretical ATPL exams, the subjects you will have to study, how to keep the motivation, how to plan your training, how to save money, and how to avoid the mistakes most student pilots make. If you want to become a pilot but you don't know how to start, if you want clear information from someone who is actually doing the process, then stay with me, because this video might be the first real step that brings you, my friend, into the cockpit. Let's begin. ATPL stands for Airline Transport Pilot License, which is the highest level of license in aviation. The license airline captains hold. When you train through the modular route, you don't do everything in one big program. Instead, you build your path step by step, completing each module when you are ready. It's flexible, affordable, and allows you to progress at your own rhythm. The modular course is normally structured like this.
First of all, you start with the PPL. During the PPL, you have around 2 months of ground school, and these 2 months you complete about 120 hours of theoretical courses, which prepare you for the 9 exams you need to pass. These exams are Principles of Flight, study the physics of how aircraft fly; Operational Procedures, learn standard procedures for flights and emergencies; Communication, covers aviation radio communication and phraseology; Aircraft General Knowledge, understand aircraft systems and components; Air Law, rules and regulation governing aviation; Flight Performance and Planning, how to calculate performance, fuel, and flight plans; Meteorology, study weather patterns and their effects on flight; Human Performance, learn about pilot physiology, limitation, and safety; General Navigation, how to plan and navigate routes using chart and instruments.
Now let's move on the practical part of the PPL. In Spain and in Europe in general, the PPL requires 45 hours of flight time, which are divided into 3 main phases. The first phase, you learn how to handle the aircraft, takeoffs, landing, basic maneuvers, and controlling the plane safely. The second phase, you focus on navigation, planning routes using map, and following airways VFR under the guidance of your instructor. The phase number 3, you complete cross-country flights, flying to different airports. First, you do these flights with your instructor, and then you fly solo to apply everything you have learned. Once all these hours and phases are completed successfully, you take the skill test, and after passing the skill test, you officially received your private pilot license. If you do it in Europe, you will get an EASA license. Once you finish your PPL, you will have your total flight hours, let's say around 45 hours. But most of that time is not as pilot in command. You might only have 10 hours as peak, pilot in command, which means you still need to build more hours on your own before moving on to the CPL. Time building is basically flying more hours as peak to meet the requirements for the CPL. It's a crucial phase where you practice navigation, improve your confidence, and get real experience flying solo. One of the CPL requirements is doing a cross-country flight of at least 300 nautical miles with landings at 2 different airports along the way. This shows you can plan longer flights, handle navigation, and land safely at airports you are not familiar with. During time building, you want to focus on flying solo as pilot in command to increase your peak hours, doing cross-country flights like the 300 nautical mile one with 2 landings, visiting different airports to practice takeoffs, landings, and airport operations, improving your overall decision-making and navigation skills. This phase is really essential because it's how you go from a new private pilot to someone ready for the CPL, safer, more confident, and experienced. There is one more thing to mention during the time building phase, the night rating. This is a short but essential course where you complete 5 hours of night flight, including 5 takeoffs and landing at night. Once you finish, you will receive a night rating certificate that is added to your PPL license, allowing you to fly at night legally and safely. Now let's talk about the ATPL exams, Airline Transport Pilot License exams. To summarize, the ATPL covers basically the same subjects as the PPL, a little bit harder, but with 4 extra ones: radio navigation, instruments, mass and balance, and aircraft performance. Actually, aircraft performance is subject and flight planning and monitoring and performance is another subject. Radio navigation. You learn how to use navigation aid like VOR, NDB, GNSS, and ILS to plan and fly cross-country flights. Instruments. This subject focuses on understanding all the cockpit instruments, autopilot systems, and how to fly using only instruments. Mass and balance. You learn how to calculate the weight and balance of the aircraft and how it affects flight performance and safety. Aircraft performance. Here you study how to calculate takeoff, landing, and in-flight performance under different conditions. And we have the flight planning, the same one as the PPL, but you cover the IFR parts. To pass these exams, you first cover around 650 hours of theory, more or less 8 months, at the academy or your school, and then take the official exams at CENASA, the Spanish Center for Aviation Exams. You have 6 attempts, or we call them sittings, to pass each exam at CENASA. And all exams must be completed within 18 months from the date you take your first exam at CENASA. This is a strict limit, so planning your study and exam schedule is very important. Each exam also has a tax, which we'll go through when we talk about all the prices at the end of the video. Now let's talk about the next step after the PPL, time building, ATPL, and night rating, which is moving into professional training with the instrument rating, multi-engine, and commercial pilot license courses. In this phase, you will start with the instrument rating course, where you learn to fly safely using only instruments. This includes advanced navigation, approaches in all weather conditions, and managing the aircraft in instrument meteorological conditions, IMC. The next step is the multi-engine, where you will learn to handle aircraft with more than one engine. This teaches you advanced system, engine out procedures, and how to operate a more complex aircraft safely. Finally, you move into the CPL Commercial Pilot License course, where the focus is on professional pilot skills. You will build more hours, learn airline standard procedures, advanced flight planning, and how to operate commercially. During these courses, generally the school usually provides all the theory classes, simulator sessions, including crosswind and navigation training, all necessary landing and airport fees, the skill test fees or examiner fees, and even assistance with applications for the license and associated rating. Overall, this stage is where you go from a private pilot to a fully trained commercial pilots ready for professional operations. The next step I'm going to talk about today is UPRT, Upset Prevention and Recovery Training, and one of the key reasons it became mandatory is the tragedy of Air France 447, where the A330 entered a stall over the Atlantic and the pilots didn't know how to recover it. May peace be upon all the passengers and crew. In UPRT, we learn how to recognize the early sign of an upset, how to prevent it from developing, and how to safely recover the aircraft from dangerous situations like high bank angle, nose high, departures, and of course unintended stalls. It's crucial part of modern pilot training designed to make sure we never repeat the mistakes that led to past tragedies. Now I'm going to talk about the MCC, Multi-Crew Corporation. This course is all about learning how to operate safely and efficiently in a multi-pilot environment. In MCC, we focus on communication, teamwork, task sharing, decision making, and managing workload inside the two pilots' cockpit. It's where you learn to work as one crew, not just as an individual pilot, and it's an essential step before flying any multi-pilot aircraft or any airliner. And now let's talk about prices in euro, and I'm talking about prices in Spain. The PPL is around 10k. Time building, including the night rating, is between 12 to 15k, depending on the aircraft you choose to fly. The ATPL Theory is around 5k, and the 13 exam fees at another 1k. Then we move to the multi-engine, instrument rating, and the CPL, which together costs around 25 to 27k. The UPRT is approximately 1.7k, and the MCC is around 3k. So in total, the fully journey from zero to hero costs between 57.7 to 62.7 euros k for sure, depending on the school and the aircraft you fly. If we compare that to an integrated ATPL, the modular route is generally more flexible. Integrated programs usually range between 80 and 100k, depending on the school and the country. The modular path, on the other hand, allows you to pay step by step, continue working while you train, and choose your own pace. Both routes lead to the same commercial pilot license. It's simply a matter of choosing the path that fits to your situation. One tip is to try to start without taking a loan from very beginning. It's best to have at least around 10,000 euros ready to start your PPL and early training. Later, you can consider a loan or financing to cover the larger costs for the commercial, multi-engine and instrument rating. And once you complete your CPL, you can continue adding qualifications like becoming a flight instructor or doing a type rating, which we will talk about in another video. Finally, I want to thank all the RH simulation members for their support. We are now 200 RH members. A warm welcome to all the new members, and this video is exclusive for all 200 of you. Ciao ciao!